So we've chosen the color for our stroke. Now a couple other things we want to do. We want to look at our layers and we want to look at our stroke size. So I know we're in the pen tool now. Let's go back to our regular selection tool by clicking V on our keyboard. So we want to look at our layers right now. If you don't have a bar on your right side that allows you to look at layers, such as this one here, on that bar you'll see layers. If you don't have that and it doesn't open, you can always go to Windows and Layers and it'll open this up for you. So we do have this toolbar to our right, so we can see our layers currently. We have one layer right now, and that layer has our image on it. So there's a color right here, this blue color located on our layer 1 that we see. That is the selection color. So anytime there's an item that we have drawn on this layer, if we highlight it or select it, you'll see this particular one is in blue. Each layer will be assigned its own selection color or highlight color. Now we want to rename this layer because currently, even though we know we only have one layer, therefore the image is on it, we're going to begin to draw on our image. So we want to make sure we have at least 2 layers. So let's rename this image by double-clicking on the title of it. And you'll see that all of a sudden layer 1 we can change. We're going to name this image. We'll go ahead and keep the highlight selection color, but you can always change that if you want. And keep the rest of the defaults the same. Click OK, and now you can see that the name of our layer has changed to image. We also want to lock this layer, so when we draw on it, it doesn't move. Just like we locked our guides, we want to make sure that our image doesn't begin to move as we draw on it. So this little box here is for locking your layers. The eyeball next to it, that's for seeing your layer, so turning it on or off. So let's go ahead and lock our layer by clicking on the blank square here, and you'll see a little lock pad show up. And now click the eye, and you'll see it turns the visibility of that layer on and off. Okay? So we want a new layer because we want to be able to draw on top of our image. So there's a little box here that has a down arrow and a little grid or a little area that looks like rows. So we're going to click on that. And it's going to say New Layer. We're going to click New Layer. And then we can name another layer. So we're going to name this layer as Trace. And you can see our selection color. That's our highlight selection color is going to be red for this one. We'll click OK. Now another way to add a layer, besides going to this area in the right-hand corner of your layers toolbar, is to come down below here and you'll see that you can click on this little tab that says Create New Layer. Okay? You can also throw a layer away if you want. So if we wanted to actually get rid of our trace layer, we can click on it, just make sure we have it highlighted, click on it, hold, and drag to the trash, and then we'll get rid of it. But we really don't want to get rid of it. So let's create a new layer. Let's click down here instead to create new layer. But you can see it didn't automatically give us a name for it. It labeled, give us the option to name it. It labeled it layer 2. So let's rename it by double clicking on the name. And again, we're going to name it Trace. Click OK or hit Enter. And that's our layer we're going to trace on. Now these layers can have a stacking order. This trace layer can actually be below your image. However, that's really not going to be the best place for it to be, because if we have it below our image, whatever we trace, we're not going to be able to see. So we want to make sure that our trace layer is above. So if we click and hold and drag up, you'll see that the trace is now at the top of the stack. And that's the way we want to have it. So we've got our image layer locked, we've got our trace layer on top, and now we want to look at our stroke. So there's a menu over here on your right toolbar that's called stroke. We can click that and open it up. Then it gives us options of weight. This is the thickness of your stroke. It also gives you the option of making dashed lines. Now we want to have a solid line, so we don't want to click this dashed area. But how large of a line do we want? We're going to leave it at 1 point right now, but we can always go and change it by clicking the down arrow here and either choosing one of the defaults to make it smaller in width or thicker in width, or we can type in a number into here also. But again, we're just going to leave it at 1, but if we ever need to go back, it's located under our strokes tab here on our toolbar, and if you need to click the tab up here for any reason, it'll be in the stroke area also. If you do not see that toolbar with that tool to your right, you'll need to go to Window, Stroke, and then it'll open up your window in order to see all of this information. If you only see the top portion of it, you only see the weight, click on this top left corner of this window, and then it'll open up the rest of the options. It'll say show more options, and you'll see everything. Okay, so we're satisfied right now with our 1 point stroke weight. In order to close that, you can click on your tool again just to get rid of it. And then we do want to open up our layers just to always know where those are at. And now we can begin drawing with the actual pen tool.